If you've ever tried to get work done but found typical advice like remove distractions didn't work, then you're in the right place. I've developed a 5-step strategy that helped me focus through medical school, surgical training, and now as the CEO of a number of edtech companies. It's called the Laser Focus Framework, and today I'm going to be showing you how it can transform the way that you work and live too. So if you want more practical strategies like these to boost your focus and productivity, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and sign up to my newsletter that goes out every week. And let's dive right into the first strategy on today's list. Let's start with something that might sound unconventional for studying, which is meditation, specifically what I call refocus meditation. This technique doesn't require hours of sitting cross-legged in silence. Instead, it's about training our brains to refocus quickly after we encounter any distractions. And this is especially useful if you find your mind wandering during things like work or deep study sessions. It's a simple yet effective tool that helps me to create mental agility, and it can help you too. The way this works is by practicing a short, focused breathing exercise. You can try this right now. Find a quiet spot, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, and then exhale for 4, and then hold for 4 again. And this is known as box breathing. As you do this, your goal isn't to completely shut off your thoughts, but to recognize when your mind drifts and gently bring your focus back onto your breath. Each time you refocus, you're training your brain to snap back from distractions more easily. Now, one of the key benefits of this exercise is that it helps build awareness of when your attention starts to drift. Studies show that mindful exercises like this can improve cognitive flexibility and attention span. Personally, I've used this technique during my busiest times, whether it's preparing for surgical exams or managing a business, and I'm able to quickly regain focus after a hectic day. Over time, refocusing has then become almost automatic, and you'll find that it's easier to switch back to your studies even when your distractions arise. The beauty of refocus meditation is that you don't need a lot of time or special equipment to get started. You can even practice it for just 5 to 10 minutes before a study session or a work session to help clear your mind and prepare yourself mentally. If you make it a daily habit, the cumulative effect will be amazing. You'll notice that you can concentrate for longer periods and handle disruptions more calmly. And this practice is particularly helpful for anyone who struggles with ADHD or anyone who finds it difficult to regain focus once they've become distracted. Give it a go and let me know how you get on. Next, I want to dive into the importance of setting clear and specific goals. Most of us will sit down with a vague intention of working for a couple of hours, but this often leads to aimless reading or half-hearted study efforts. Our brains need direction, and without a specific target, it's easy to get lost in distractions or procrastination. A clear goal, on the other hand, acts like a roadmap for our minds, keeping us on track and completely laser focused. For example, instead of me saying, I'm going to study for 2 hours for this test, I'm going to narrow it down to something more actionable, like I will do 25 practice questions and then pre-read the next chapter's topics. This breaks the task down into concrete actions, making it easier for our brains to understand what's expected. When you set small, manageable tasks, we reduce our cognitive load and we experience a sense of accomplishment each time we complete a new one, which keeps us motivated. It's similar to ticking off items on a to-do list. Our brain loves that little dopamine hit when we complete a task. In my personal experience, breaking down my goals was essential during med school and surgical training. Rather than trying to learn entire textbooks in one sitting, I would focus on mastering one specific medical condition or topic at a time and then reviewing a set number of exam questions each day. This made the workload feel less overwhelming and allowed me to make consistent progress without feeling burnt out and giving me that dopamine hit when I'd completed that set of questions. By the end of the week, I'd covered more material than I would have by trying to cram it all in with vague goals. And one extra bonus powerful tool that you can use to set these specific goals is the SMART framework, or SMART, where the goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For instance, instead of saying, I'll write an essay today, a SMART goal would be, I'll write the introduction and outline for my essay by 2 p.m. This not only gives your brain a clear target, but also a deadline to work towards. It's amazing how much more focused you can become when you know exactly what you need to achieve and by when. Now, let's talk about how we can actively engage with what we're working on. And I'm going to use the example of studying because I know a lot of you get distracted when you're studying for exams. And a common mistake used by students is reading passively, which means that we're not really processing that information deeply. We might be flipping through the pages of a textbook, but if we're not engaging with the content, very little is going to stick. topic. And this works for business books or anything you're trying to work on. It's all about active focus, which requires us to interact with the material and help cement that knowledge into our brain. An effective way to do this is by breaking the material into smaller sections and summarizing each one as we go along. After reading a section, we can pause and ask ourselves, what were the main points I've just read? Try to summarize them back without looking at the text, and this forces our brains to recall and process the information rather than just let it pass us by. If I'm reading about something for marketing in my business, I'm not just reading it and then doing nothing. I'm thinking about how I can turn this into actionable strategies that I can implement straight away, because the best way to learn is actually by doing. Another method I recommend here is using Parkinson's law, which states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. To use this law to your advantage, set a strict time limit for each task that you're working on during a session. For example, instead of just saying, I'm going to work until I finish, say, I'm going to read chapter 3 of this book in the next 45 minutes. This not only adds a healthy sense of urgency, but also prevents procrastination. I personally have found that when I give myself too much time, I tend to get distracted, but a tighter deadline helps me to stay laser focused. And finally, whether you're a student studying or you're working on a project, don't underestimate the power of active recall. Whether it's closing your book and testing yourself, or teaching and explaining the concepts you've just read about to somebody else, it consolidates things effectively into your brain and ensures that you're actively engaging with that material. By engaging with the material in an active way, you're training your brain to remember and apply that information more effectively. Just like any physical skill, we can build up our focus limits too. Similar to a muscle, we want to push past our limits in order to extend the time we can focus without our minds wandering. Now, the idea here is pretty simple. Start with short, manageable work sessions and gradually increase the time or complexity of tasks as your focus improves. This method not only builds mental stamina, but also prevents burnout, which is crucial for longer-term success and habit formation. We can begin by tracking our natural focus span. Set a timer when you start working and note down when your concentration begins to fade. This is your baseline limit. Let's say you can focus around about 15 minutes before your mind starts to drift. That's a great starting point, and during your next work session, you can aim to add on just 5 more minutes. By slowly increasing your focus, it will strengthen your ability to concentrate for longer and longer periods, just like how adding weights gradually builds muscle strength and resistance. It's a little bit like the Pomodoro technique, but you progressively build up sessions and note down if you get distracted by anything. Once you've extended your focus duration, shift that focus from time-based goals to task-based goals. And so instead of just working for an hour, try and challenge yourself to complete a specific task without taking a break in a time frame. For instance, I'll try and finish reviewing this case study before I get up, or I'll solve these 5 problems before checking my phone. This shift in focus helps build task endurance and trains our brains to complete work efficiently without the need for frequent breaks. And pushing our focus limits isn't just about extending our time, it's also about increasing the task difficulty that we can manage. Start with simple material first, and then build up to more difficult topics later on. This way, our brains adapt to handling harder tasks with more sustained focus. Over time, you'll get gradually better, and you'll feel that you can work for longer and more difficult work sessions than has felt manageable previously. The final focus tip may sound a bit strange and a bit counterintuitive, but it will really take your focus to the next level. It's all about learning to focus with distractions around you. Now, many of us are told to create a perfect, distraction-free work environment, but life doesn't always cooperate with us. Whether it's working in a noisy cafe, having a buzzing phone, or even our own wandering thoughts, distractions are pretty much unavoidable. Instead of fighting them, I found that the real power lies in training ourselves to focus despite them. One technique I use is called deliberate distractions. This means I'm intentionally allowing my mind to be distracted during a work session to build up resilience. So what I might do is I'll start by working in environments that aren't completely silent, like a coffee shop or a park. I might take my headphones with me, but there's still some element of visual or auditory distraction. These settings then train us to filter out background noise and stay focused on the tasks at hand. Once we're able to focus amidst low-level distractions, even more disruptive distractions and environments won't throw us off our track. A key part of mastering focus amongst distractions here is shifting how we perceive them. Often, we get distracted not because of a noise or a visual cue, but because we get frustrated or angry with the distractions themselves. When we train our brains to ignore these stimuli and stay locked on our tasks, distractions lose their power over us. So that's the laser focus framework, starting out with meditation and then going all the way through to training our brains to work despite distractions. If you apply all of these tips consistently, I guarantee that you'll see a major improvement in your focus and productivity levels permanently. Now, if you found this video helpful, you might want to check out this one on how to build habits more efficiently using AI, and I really hope you enjoyed watching today's video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for similar videos, and I'll catch you again next time. See ya.